The internet was absolutely convinced, even us, that this was the year the orange wall would finally crumble. Before the first engine even fired up, the forums were screaming that Honda finally had the speed and Kove had the sheer volume to bury the Austrians for good. KTM is dead, was the trending sentiment. Well, looking at the final podium, those comments didn't age well, but it wasn't a blowout. It was the closest finish in the history of the sport. The Austrian machines claimed their 21st victory by a margin of just 2 seconds. The challengers didn't fail because they lacked horsepower. They failed because of split-second errors, and nowhere was that heartbreak more painful than inside the Honda tent. The Honda heartbreak, 2 seconds from glory. Let's talk about the red bikes first, because their loss wasn't a mechanical collapse. It was a tragedy of errors. On paper, Honda had this race in the bag. Ricky Brabec and Tosha Shirena were arguably the fastest riders in the desert. But Dakar punishes the smallest mental slip, and this year, those slips cost them everything. The heartbreak started early with Shirena. In Stage 5, the Spaniard was hammered with a 10-minute penalty for ignoring the flags at the bivouac exit. That single mistake changed the entire complexion of his race. He spent the next week clawing back time, proving he had the speed but leaving himself too deep in a hole to challenge for the win. Then there was Ricky Brabec. The American rode a tactical masterclass for 2 weeks. He even played 4D chess in Stage 11, intentionally slowing down to let KTM's Luciano Benavides take the lead and open the road for the following day. Brabec started the final stage with over 3 minutes in hand, a lifetime in rally racing. It looked like a guaranteed third title. The Boulevard Brabec was open for business. But at kilometer 98.4 of the final stage, just 7 kilometers from the finish line, disaster struck. Brabec made a slight navigation error, drifting left. He had to loop back about 3 kilometers to find the track. While he was scrambling to correct, Luciano Benavides was pinning it to the finish. Brabec crossed the line moments later, but the clock told the brutal truth. He lost the Dakar rally by 2 seconds. 2 seconds. It wasn't an engine failure that cost Honda the win. It was one wrong turn. The Orange Depth, Rally 2, and the Privateers. While the cameras were glued to the factory stars, a parallel war was raging in the Rally 2 class that tells you everything you need to know about the state of the sport. If the KTM is dead narrative was true, we should have seen the other brands dominating the privateer ranks, where the bikes are closer to stock and reliability is king. Instead, we saw the exact opposite. The orange wall isn't just a few factory bikes at the front. It is an ecosystem that runs deep into the pack. The Rally 2 battle was almost a mirror image of the main event. For most of the rally, it looked like Honda had this one locked down. Preston Campbell, son of the legendary Johnny Campbell, who is practically American Honda royalty and Ricky Brabec's mentor, was riding a stormer. He led the general classification day after day, looking poised to bring a crucial victory to the red team. But the Dakar is 2 weeks long, and the Austrian machinery just keeps coming. Enter Tony Mulek, riding for the BAS World KTM team, a satellite squad that has groomed champions like Mason Klein. The Slovenian didn't panic when he was behind. He just kept chipping away. The turning point came late, in Stage 11. The same day, the factory battle intensified. Mulek finally broke Campbell's resistance, capitalizing on the brutal terrain to snatch the lead. By the time they reached the finish line in Yanbu, Mulek had opened up a gap of 4 minutes and 37 seconds over the American. It was another blow to Honda. They had the lead, they had the legacy, but they couldn't close the deal against a KTM. And it didn't stop there. Look at the original Bimotul class, the Malmoto gladiators who race without assistance, doing their own mechanics at night. This is the ultimate test of a bike's durability because there is no mechanic to swap an engine at 3 a.m. The winner? Benjamin Malot. After years of chasing this title and finishing on the podium, the Frenchman finally took the top step, beating Josep Pedro by over 14 minutes. So let's tally that up. KTM didn't just win the main Rally GP category by 2 seconds. They won Rally 2. They won Original by Motul. The reign isn't just about one fast guy on a factory bike. It's about a platform that dominates every single level of the sport. While the internet forums were busy hyping up the newcomers and the budget brands, the orange bikes were busy filling up the trophy cabinets across every single category. That depth is what makes them so hard to kill. You can beat one of them, maybe two, but beating the entire fleet is a different mountain entirely. Why KTM won? Resilience over tactics. There is a narrative floating around that KTM won because they played a better tactical game. That's actually not true. If you look at the race notes, it was Honda, specifically Ricky Brabec, who played the 4D chess. In Stage 11, Brabec put on a masterclass in stage management. He intentionally slowed down, virtually parking the bike, to ensure he wouldn't have to open the road the next day. He handed the stage lead to Luciano Benavides on a silver platter, forcing the KTM rider to blaze the trail in Stage 12. It was a brilliant, calculated gamble that set up what should have been an easy Boulevard Brabec victory ride in Yanbu. So why didn't it work? Because KTM didn't try to outsmart the strategy. They just outlasted the pressure. When their main man, Daniel Sanders, crashed out in Stage 10 with a shoulder injury while holding a comfortable lead, the team didn't fold. They immediately pivoted the weight of the entire factory effort onto Luciano Benavides' shoulders. That is a heavy load for a rider looking for his first win, but the force of destiny, as the organizers called it, was with him. While Brabec was calculating gaps and managing start times, Benavides was just pinning it. He accepted the poisoned chalice of opening the road and rode with a level of aggression that forced Honda to be perfect. And that is the key. When you force your opponent to be perfect, you open the door for mistakes. Brabec started the final stage with a massive 3-minute and 20-second cushion. He didn't need to be fast, he just needed to be clean. But at kilometer 98.4, the pressure cracked the armor. He drifted left. He missed the track. He had to turn around. That moment of panic was all the opening KTM needed. Benavides didn't win because of a secret engine map or a clever road position. He won because he rode a cleaner, harder race when the chips were down. He told his team before the final stage, "I felt I could do it, even when the math said it was impossible." That belief is the intangible weapon inside the orange tent. They have a culture of resilience that simply refuses to accept defeat until the final waypoint is cleared. We also have to talk about the physical advantage of the WP Pro suspension components. In the final rocky stages around Yanbu, where the terrain destroys lesser bikes, the KTMs looked composed. The damping consistency of the WP setup meant Benavides could push flat out over the stones without the bike kicking sideways, preserving his physical energy for that final, frantic sprint. While Brabec was fighting the mental fatigue of leading, Benavides was physically fresh enough to drop the hammer. Ultimately, KTM won because they eliminated the drama. They didn't have the fastest bike in a straight line, and they didn't have the trickiest strategy. They just had the most resilient ecosystem. From the mechanics doing routine maintenance while other teams scrambled, to the satellite riders sweeping the lower classes, the entire orange machine is built to endure. They let Honda beat themselves with a single heartbreaking error while they just kept riding the same relentless pace, day after day, all the way to the top step of the podium. In conclusion, the dynasty you love to hate. Let's be real for a second. Deep down, a lot of us wanted the orange wall to crumble this year. It's human nature to root for the underdog, to want to see the giant toppled, and to see a new color on the top step of the podium. We look at the sheer dominance of the Austrian factory over the last 2 decades, and we get bored. We want the drama of a Honda resurgence, or the romance of a Cove underdog story. But here is the cold, hard truth that Dakar 2026 just slapped us in the face with: you can hate the dynasty all you want, but you have to respect the machine they have built. This race proved that the Orange Wall isn't just a marketing slogan. It is a fortress built on something far more substantial than just horsepower. It is built on a culture that refuses to crack under pressure. When the internet was screaming that KTM is dead because Honda had faster split times in the first week, the Austrians didn't panic. They didn't overhaul their bike or change their strategy. They just kept grinding. They knew that the Dakar isn't won in the sprint stages. It's won in the moments when everything goes wrong. We spend so much time obsessing over dyno charts, top speeds, and KTM Killer prototypes. Every year, a new challenger arrives with more power, lighter materials, and a bigger budget, claiming they have finally cracked the code. And every year, they find out that building a fast bike is the easy part. Building a bike and a team that can endure 8,000 kilometers of the most brutal terrain on Earth without blinking? That is the hard part. Reliability is the ultimate performance metric. It is infinitely cooler than top speed when you are stranded in the middle of a desert. It doesn't matter if you are 2 minutes faster on day 3 if you are 2 seconds slower on day 14 because of a mental error or a mechanical doubt. The privateers prove this. The guys in the male moto class prove this. When you strip away the factory support trucks and the heated motorhomes, the bike that wins is the bike that keeps moving forward. That is the philosophy that KTM has drilled into every single rider, mechanic, and engineer in their program. It is an ecosystem of endurance that the other brands are still trying to reverse engineer. So, I have to ask you, are you still a Honda fanboy after this? Are you still convinced that they were robbed by a navigation error? Or are you starting to see that KTM simply forced them into making that mistake? It's easy to blame bad luck, but luck tends to favor the prepared. The force of destiny that Luciano Benavides talked about wasn't magic. It was the result of a system that eliminates variables until winning becomes the only option left. The reign isn't over. In fact, looking at the depth of the privateer classes, it might just be getting stronger. But here is the twist. Winning the race is one thing, but winning the market is another. KTM dominated the desert, but are they dominating the dealership floor? In our next video, we're going to look at the sales numbers to see if this racing success actually translates to real-world dominance, or if the KTM Killer is actually already in your garage. You don't want to miss that one. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the reality of the rally, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment below and tell me why I'm wrong. I know the Honda crew is going to have a lot to say about this one. Smash the like button if you respect the hustle, and I'll see you in the next one.